That's what you were forgetting.
I almost forgot to press record. Yes. Shit. Thank you very much. I appreciate you in all kinds of ways. Woohoo! Okay, so. Welcome to Belgariad and Beyond, episode 14. We are up to chapter 14 of Porn of Prophecy of the Belgariad series. And I'm Sondra Turnbull. I'm here with my co-host, Alysia. Hi, Alysia.
Hi. How's it going?
I'm doing very well. Now, Alysia is not feeling wonderful this week, so we're all going to give her lots of love from the future, coming back to the past. So you should be feeling an influx of love right now.
Yeah.
Alysia? Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
I look forward to it. Mm-hmm.
So, no, you're getting it right now because people in the future are already sending it. So they'll love that timey-wimey stuff that we do all the time.
Yeah, I apologize if I get nasally or a little bit froggy throughout the episode, but, you know I wanted to record.
You can get as froggy as you like, but if you start doing weird shit with snot, hang up.
Thankfully, I don't have any of the snot going on. It's all in my chest.
Then we're good.
Okay. So how was your week? This last week?
Okay, straight into Polgara's cup. So my week was fresh and light. It was a lovely potion. And then I drank it and drank it and drank it. It was lovely and lovely and lovely. And then I got to the bottom and there were these big ass grains of sour resin stuck to the bottom of the cup. And it tainted the bottom part of my potion and made me quite sick. So that was my potion this week because work is going really well. I'm getting lots of teaching opportunities, and I've got a meditation class once a week that I'm holding space for with my journeying guided meditation, and that's really beautiful. And I've so missed that, and it's sort of looped me back around to where I started decades ago. I'm doing that again. It's wonderful, and I'm finding and that there's income coming to me, so money coming to me in surprising and unexpected ways. So by no means do I have a traditional income or steady income. However, I have a brilliant life and I'm starting to be rewarded and feel rewarded for the work that I'm doing in very real ways. So not just a feel good, I know that I'm doing a good job and it feels good, but I got a really beautiful review on my new book that's out. It's my first review on Amazon ever, because at the moment this is the only book I've got on Amazon, and I was so excited. So that was a good thing. And there were lots of lovely things being said about that. So I'm teaching, I'm writing, I'm being recognized for writing. I won a book that got sent to me, an author planner, for a whole year. That was a total surprise. And I won a subscription to Gaia TV as a reward for just being me and interacting and being involved with the communities that I'm involved with, and my teaching, and just sharing my knowledge about entrepreneurship and being a creative and an author and in the esoteric kind of stuff that I do. And so I'm getting these rewards and feeling appreciated and knowing that I'm doing good work. And so there's all of this stuff going on, and I can feel myself kind of drawing forward and moving ahead, and all of those lovely things about being in the flow that we search for so frantically sometimes, and forget that if we just kind of let everything go, that is the flow. that we're so desperately searching for all the time.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I'm at. And then just this last couple of days, what I might call a previous life has blown up in my face. And it's not even in my face. It's a long, long, long way away in distance. But it's drawn me back into a whirlwind where I feel like I haven't done enough and I failed and it's my fault and I have to fix this and I can't fix this, but I have to fix this. And so I'm trying to, pull myself out of that space at the moment. So that's where I am tonight, trying to kind of extract. My girlfriend's been wonderful. She's been, we philosophize a lot. We have very interesting conversations. We dive straight down below the surface and talk about all kinds of amazing things and really hold each other accountable. We are each other's sounding boards for things that I've never spoken to anyone else about in a way that, it is so profoundly safe, but challenging at the same time. It's amazing. So I'm really thankful that I've got her, because that's sort of helping me to just work through it without falling into it too much.
Yeah. It's important to have a partner who can give that to you, because if you can't turn to them, then who else is it?
It's taken a long time for me to find someone like that.
It is. It's not easy to find, for sure. But I think that having that partnership and this other family member that's bringing up all of this fear for you it's almost kind of like you're already just experiencing so much of the flow, right? Like every income's coming to you in unexpected ways. You're getting recognized and all of this just because you've been doing your passion, right? And then something comes in to kind of like be like, nope, you can't fully enjoy it.
That's so fascinating that you recognize that, because one of the last things I said to my girlfriend before I came up to record was, I recognize that this is not, this is not the first time this particular pattern has shown up, where I've been in the flow. My work has been really going well. I'm doing all of the things that I'm here on this earth to bloody be doing, and it's feeling wonderful. And this particular situation blows up.
Right.
And I fling myself back so far that it takes me a long time to move back into where I was. But this time, it's like, oh, I see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this time, don't go backwards.
Yeah, so
can't fix everybody else's problems.
Exactly. So that's exactly where I am. You little must be. Have you had cold medicine? You're a bit out of it. You're seeing all the truth today.
No, I don't do the cold medicine. Just Tylenol. That's it. Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right on now that you're very aware of it. It's good.
What about you? Oh my God, how long have we been talking and we haven't even gotten to you yet? Oh, I have a feeling this might either be me chopping chunks out in the edit or a very long episode.
We'll see. It's okay if a couple will go over the hour, I think. But mine has been a little bit, filled with like this thick muddiness, my cup. Not even something that's drinkable, really.
I just about
spit out your drink.
Microphone.
But it started last week when I was starting to get in the flow, right? And then my oldest child got sick and had to stay home from school. Mm-hmm. And I told you on Wednesdays when we record, I said I'm going to take the recording day off because I was so much in the flow. I wanted to just keep going with it because I knew Thursday Nathan is home from work. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I do better when I'm just alone, nothing against him or anything, but
no, I totally get that. It's very disconcerting to have someone else anywhere near your space when you're creating.
Yeah. And so, but then it turned out my daughter stayed home from school as well that day. And so I think that's when things started to I started to not feel the flow all of a sudden, because I'm like, dang it, there goes my day, you know? Sick child, your day is done. And so she was sick, and then my little one started getting sick over the weekend.
Sorry about that. I forgot to put my phone on silent.
Oh, I couldn't even hear it.
Sorry.
And so what happened is, I think that trigger just started me on this slow decline. And when Sunday came along, I just I don't know, I got super sleepy early in the morning, like at 9 o'clock, which is not normal for me. And I had to literally lay down, and I tried to sleep and I couldn't. And so then I just started crying and couldn't stop. And that's when I knew something was going on, something at a spiritual level. And I didn't know what it was, though. It just felt really awful. And it wouldn't be till the next day that everything cleared up, and I got some clarity that was really hard to take in at first.
Yeah, the clarity. That's the fuck.
Right. And I did a lot of just looking through books I have and journaling and all of that. And I came to this place of like complete peace. Kind of like what I was saying to you before we started recording, is that it's so funny to me, not funny, but like magical to me, that you're talking about how you're in the flow and stuff is just coming to you now, whether it's money or people being appreciative of your teaching and meditation and all of that. Because I realized that I was so against the flow for the last like several years of my life by my own doing, that that's why I couldn't create anything I wanted to. And it was all my own doing. And so now I've completely refocused. I've let go of like something that was my life, you know, like the work I was doing. I'm not doing it anymore. So I'm recommitting, you know, to author.
That's a big deal, babe.
Yeah. So moving forward, that is my number one focus, is writing my novels. I'm building my business around my own work. And trusting, like you say, when you're in the flow, things just start coming to you when you need them. And I truly believe it now.
Yeah. And it's so, I don't know about you, but I find myself with this childlike wonder and surprise and like, oh wow, this is happening and it's exciting, and I don't doubt it. I just enjoy it and celebrate. It's like I've had such a celebratory week, but it ended with such a thump kind of. And it's not even, you know how people say you have a reality check? Bullshit. This is not reality. This thing that's checking me, this thing that's trying to beat me over the head, is the unreality that lays over the top of what is actually real when you let yourself go there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And like, this is why I get so excited about this. Like, just the fact that where we are each at right now, and the fact that we're connected already and that we're coming together talking about this from our own personal perspectives, is proof that, you know, the universe is magical. It's truly, and when you just let go and let it take over, like anything truly becomes possible.
This is the Anything is Possible show, my darlings. Thank you for listening. See you next week. No, that's not true. We're going.
I know. Where's the Belgariad? I mean,
yeah, I know. So now it's your turn, my little Garion. Tell us the chapter summary in Garion's view.
All right, so they are still in Alorn, and Dernick and Garion are kind of just hanging out while the rest are in this important meeting, and they're observing the soldiers or whoever they are, just kind of like being lazy all day. And Dernick's like, let's go do something productive. So they look through the kitchens and the smithy, and then Barrack and Silk come out of the meeting and say, I think they said that they had to go check on the ship. Was that it? Yeah. Okay. So then they all like kind of take this little journey through the city and get to the ships. And Garion, of course, is bored immediately as soon as they start doing their ship talk. So he sees some kids, like the little kids age, playing, and he goes over, like sliding down the snow and stuff. And so he goes over, has an interesting encounter with a boy and the girl who are there. And then, of course, he ends up getting really like butthurt and offended.
Of course he does.
His elders, because they're not only just laughing at him, some are laughing at him, and then some are trying to be like, what's wrong with you? You need to straighten up your act. Mainly Aunt Pole, of course.
Yeah, Pole. Well, we will discuss that later.
Yes.
Yes, that's pretty much the chapter.
Yeah, it was a really short one.
Yeah.
Not too eventful.
Straight into the start of this chapter. So it's the following day from the last, where we left off last time. I can't remember. How did the last chapter end? Okay. Garion had decided that he was going to keep his eyes open for the man in the green cloak, because he'd been wandering the halls. So this is the next day, and it's snowing, and as you say, everyone's going off for more of the council meeting, but Dernick stays with Garion. And what did you think of the conversation that the two of them have?
You know what? Like, I was reading this and I said, hey, I was exactly right. I was exactly right when I said, I think it was in the last episode, that Silk was in love with that woman. And I wasn't the only one that noticed. And I think it was probably noticeable on purpose, because Garion noticed.
Well, I don't know. Garion seems to be painted as quite a perceptive lad. Who sees things perhaps that the others aren't seeing, or the others assume he doesn't see because he's, a kid. But yeah, they talk about him. They talk about who they talk about first.
Garion asks, because they're Dernick's like disapproving.
Oh yeah.
Right? He's like, well, these are idle people. Like, don't they even do any work around here?
Yeah, like the Cherrick warriors are sitting around in the throne room, like they're hanging out in the throne room, and the Cherrick warriors are like polishing their armor a bit, or sharpening their swords, or throwing dice and drinking in the morning.
Yeah.
And being very lazy and kind of not doing anything.
But Garion seems, he's kind of bored with that topic. He's like, yeah, I mean, I guess they're supposed to sit around, right, until they're told to do something.
Yeah.
So that's when he shifts. Like, he just blatantly shifts into the, hey, did you notice yesterday? Like,
the way that
Barrack with Barrack, yeah.
Yeah. He's curious about the way Barrack and Merrill are acting towards each other.
So that's we do get to hear that a little bit of.
Yeah, and so Dernick, and now I wanted to talk about this a little bit, because Dernick says, yes, it was very sad. Silk told me about it, and when Barrack was young, he fell in love with Merrill, but Merrill didn't want to have anything to do with him. And then when and then Garion's like, well, how come they're married? And Dernick's like, well, when Barrack became Earl of Trelheim, Merrill's family was like, Earl, we like this marriage. You're going to do it, even though you don't want to. And so Merrill was forced into the marriage that she didn't want.
Right.
And then after they were married, the way that it's put in the book is that Barrack discovered that she was really a very shallow and selfish person anyway. Now, I have a problem with this.
Okay, let's hear
it. So who is the shallow one here in this scenario? I'm sorry, but patriarchy at work, or whatever the hell, I do not like this. They're calling Merrill shallow for not wanting to marry him, and then Barrack's having a whine after he's married this person who's been forced to marry him, who never wanted to marry him in the first place. And now they're married, and he discovers that she's really very shallow and selfish. Well, I'm sorry, maybe she just doesn't want to be with you, and she's been forced into a situation that she doesn't want to be in. That's what you're seeing?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's definitely from a man's perspective.
This is totally from a man's perspective. This is a man, like, yeah, David, nothing, yes, okay. But
these are all men here having this discussion. So I can see how they wouldn't see it from her point of view. And I think probably this, in this world during this time, it's not uncommon, right? It's more common than not to be forced into a marriage.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't care. I don't like it.
Right.
But yeah, but I think it's just interesting to look at it from that perspective, because I mean, this is the first time I've ever thought about it from that perspective. So every other time I've read this book, I have kind of, my consciousness has skimmed over the surface of what this is actually saying. And this time I'm going right down into it. Well,
you figure the time this book was written, and it was written by a man. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's lots of, it's very stereotypical, but that doesn't mean that we can't explore it and kind of look at it with a fresh lens, because things are not, mainstream thought is shifting. It's not the same as it was then. Things that we took for granted for such a long time are starting to be challenged now as a common thing.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of, because this book does that, it brings up a lot of like Game of Thrones type stuff. And it reminds me of, I know you haven't seen it, but there's a character named Cersei, who is a woman, and she is the queen when the series starts, the queen of the realm. And she was forced to marry the king, who is not a bad guy, but she comes off immediately as like, she is the villain. She's like, nobody likes her. But as the story moves on, you start to understand why she holds this like resentment and why she acts, and she does terrible things. But the further you get into the story, you realize why she's doing it. And you start to see, kind of like with this woman here, with Meryl, that it is she is a woman in a man's world, and this is the only way she knows how to survive, is to turn into this like evil person.
You imagine when you're forced into a situation, you use the defenses that you can use that are effective, that get you a modicum of control or power, because nobody likes to be powerless. But I just thought it was interesting that I noticed that when I read it this time.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it, but I mean, like I said, I read Game of Thrones, and so it's all over those books, and it's kind of like over my head.
But my thinking shifted, and that's it. That for me is an interesting thing. But I just thought I made a note that I wanted to talk about that, because it was just like, you know what, that really fucking pisses me off this time. It never used to.
Yeah. But Garion seems, to feel really sorry. He doesn't seem to take sides either way. He just kind of is like, that's sad. I wish we could do something.
He does, doesn't he? Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Like, oh, how can we make it better? And Dernick is just adorable. Dernick. We're going to have to start calling him Adorable Dernick, because he's so bloody. Well, you just don't butt in on another man's relationship with his wife. And, he's so sort of prudish, but kind of like, you just want to squeeze his cheeks or something while he's doing it.
Yeah, I get that feeling too.
Straight-laced is the term, I think.
But Garion doesn't seem to care for the answer or something, because again, he just immediately switches. Like, okay, so did you know that Silk's in love with his aunt? It's just funny how he's right in both of these topics. He's just so direct and so out of nowhere with it.
It does seem like, it's like he's so bored.
Right. He's like, I want to do something to make myself interested. So here you go.
But I think it is interesting, like, that he's noticed this stuff, and that Dernick's the one that he's asking about it. Like, Dernick is the approachable one that he feels comfortable talking about this stuff with. Because obviously he can't talk to Silk, because Silk's the one who's in love with his aunt.
Right.
But yes, you were so spot on. I was so like, I wanted to talk about it last week when you were like like, oh, maybe this or maybe that. But yeah, Silk is totally in love, besotted with his aunt.
Mm-hmm. Right. I knew it. That's totally how.
Yeah.
I guess I've known men like that in the past, and I've seen it, with other men when they're into a woman.
Yeah.
They put up that
Yeah. And the problem is that his aunt, Queen Porrin, is married to King Rodar, and she's his second wife. So Silk's actual aunt. She's not Silk's actual aunt. She is the king's second wife. She's much younger than the king.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Silk is absolutely in love with her. And can't and doesn't, just sort of this we will talk about this again through the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'm hoping that he's going to get a girl eventually.
Have no fear, we will be discussing this again. So, and then it's so funny, like Dernick's like, oh, I can almost see, oh, come on now. Decent men don't talk about their friends and their friends' wives and stuff. So it's like, so they go off to, they collect themselves and head off to see what's what. So they're checking out the kitchen and the smithy, which, makes sense because Garion was the cook's assistant and Dernick is a smith. So, you're in a different culture. You go and check out the things that are familiar to you to see, how it compares to what you're used to.
Right. And in the kitchens, I think they're both a little bit disturbed, was it? Like, in a humorous way. Because they're just kind of like messing around and somebody threw a hat in the soup or something like that.
Yeah, so it just sounds like complete chaos in the kitchen. Yeah. But I love the picture that the words conjure up, like the vastness of the ovens and the cauldrons that are cooking the soup, and the way it's just got like flocks of geese in lakes of gravy and battalions of loaves marching into the oven to be baked. I still can't quite get my head to imagine exactly what that's like because I've never been in a kitchen like that, but I would so love it.
I know, that would be pretty cool.
Yes. I'm a total kitchen witch, so I would really love to have that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm not myself a kitchen person. Like, I am not a cook. I cannot cook or bake for the life of me. I mean, I can do it, but it never comes out.
Are you a packet girl?
The other day, I tried to bake the cupcakes for my daughter's birthday party and completely ruined them the night before. And I'm like,
oh no.
I'm in tears because I'm like, how did I mess up instant? It was the instant box.
Oh my God. Sweetheart.
And so I called my mom in tears and I'm like, I ruined the cupcake. And she's like, my aunt was visiting, and so my aunt was staying with her. And she's like, all right, well, I'll go out because she's really good at that stuff. She's good at cooking and baking. And the next morning she sent me a photo of completed with the frosting on top cupcakes within just a few hours. I'm like,
magic.
I did not get her gift with that at all.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry.
Terrible.
Oh, that's and I know that disaster the night before baking the birthday cake for the child the next day, and you're up at like 1 a.m. frosting the frigging cake because you had to wait for it to cool off so that you could put the frosting on.
Yeah, I couldn't even get them out of the pan. They were stuck.
Oh, honey.
And I was just ripping them and they're just crumbling. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do?
Oh, babe. That's when you get the cupcakes and you crumble them and mix them into ice cream.
I was thinking of, and then I was like, I don't think Natalie would like that though. And she has to like it. It's her birthday.
Yeah, true.
So
I'm glad that your aunt was nearby.
I know, my aunt helped my mom and they made it happen. I'm definitely the one that as soon as I am able to, I'm going to be the one that has those pre-prepared meals sent to your house. They have vegan ones now too. Yeah. And it's already done. All you got to do is kind of separate it and bake it or something and it's ready.
Yep.
I'm totally doing that.
Okay, you let me know how that goes.
I will.
Yeah, so they're in the kitchen and it's horrible and disaster, and they're both disturbed, and it's very kind of restrained, disapproving kind of, they don't want to be there because it's just too wrong. It's all wrong. It's not Aunt Pol's kitchen, and they have to leave. So they're back out in the hallway. And do you remember the interaction that happens next in the hallway? Okay, I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, this one had me laughing because as soon as it said that this woman was dressed, I forget how it's described, but basically really low cut
bodice.
Yeah, and so lots of cleavage going on, and I'm like, okay, this can't mix well with Dernick, right? And so she basically is he asks her where the smithy is, and she's very upfront about, like, I can tell you where it is, and how about you send Garion off, and then you and I can have some moments to talk. And he just completely is like, no, where's the smithy? I'm sorry, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, he gets all like stiffened. You can just in my head I can just see him get all stiffened, disapproving, with the blush creeping up his cheeks.
Yeah. And I like the comments. And of course Garion thinks this is hilarious, but I like the comment where she's like, I'm usually around for someplace. You can find me when you finish your business with the smith. And then he's just like, I'm sure I could.
Come along, Garion.
Like, I could, but, and the part he doesn't say is, I'm not going to, though.
I'm sure I could. Off he goes. So that was fun.
Yeah, I like that.
So they go out into and it's snowing, just snowing softly in the inner courtyard outside. And so they walk out into this inner courtyard, which is has all of the artisans, so the candle makers and the wheelwrights and the coopers. So they make the barrels and all of the stuff, the cobbler and the smith, and so all of the stuff that the castle needs to run. This is where it all, and I just love the idea that it's a commute, like, it's that money thing again, I love the idea that this is their life and they work here to support the castle, and the castle then supports them, and it's kind of this symbiotic existence. Like, they're there because they're getting paid to be there. They're there because this is what they do as part of the community. This is their role.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I think that's what I've always been so drawn to fiction about, like fantasy fiction, because it always has that type of an environment. Well, not always. There's usually
but often
currency. But
this is not an uncommon picture that's drawn in fantasy fiction.
Right. But this is when Barrack and Silk find them and invite them to run the errand with them through.
Yes, the interesting thing, so just so that we continue to build a picture of the different peoples of the lands, when they're in the smithy, it's noted that on the walls of the Cherrick smithy hang war axes and spears and, swords and stuff. And that's as opposed to what would be hanging in a Sendarian smithy, which would be like, hoes and spades and plows and that sort of stuff. So you can see the different cultures, in the just right there on the wall. So that's a really good picture of the difference between the two countries, I think.
Like farmers versus warriors.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Exactly. So it's like, so you kind of get this idea of, because that speaks to the personality also of Barrack and Dernick. So you can start to kind of, I love that about story, how a well done story kind of puts these layers in. You don't get a huge info dump all at once, which you don't pay attention to and doesn't sink in because it doesn't need to be said yet. It makes no sense yet. But this kind of layering where you learn more about characters in the story and the world that the story is taking place in, I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. I did pick up on that too when I was reading. I was like, oh, that kind of really clarified it for me.
Oh, cool. That's cool. So Barrack comes out and says he's got to run an errand. So Silk's with him and they all go off to the ships. Now, what you asked a question about the ships, you were unsure about what they were going to see?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure when they come and say, hey, come with us. I didn't remember if he had said they're going to go look at a ship or what, but he says they're running an errand. He didn't actually say what they're
So that's the errand. And the reason that ships are important is that Cherok's are known for making war at sea. So they're warboats. Cherok warboats is a thing. So that's like that's their thing. That's why I think I see them as Vikings, because that whole,
Yeah, that makes sense. And this is the moment where we get some like clarity, because Darnick decides to poke around like, why do you guys have so many names? And I feel like that was put in there for the purposes of readers who might be confused.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because I thought the same thing this time I read it. But it's spaced out far enough from the last little education moment that it's not too much, I thought.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much. I do think that it is like really obvious, but that's just me. It wasn't enough to like put me off though. I still was like, okay, I appreciate
and because it did seem quite Dernick-like. It didn't jar, because it seemed like something that he would say at this point in the story. Like, he's a very plain-spoken person. If he doesn't understand something, he asks a question.
Yeah.
And so coming from him, it made sense. And in the same way that when Garion asks certain questions, it makes sense that they come from him. So I think rather than it being an obvious device to tell the reader something, it might be, but if you choose the character properly that the questions come from, even if you recognize it as an information relaying device, it doesn't matter, because you can totally see that character asking the question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did I just ramble around in a circle or what?
No, it made sense. And Dernick is somebody who would ask something like that. I just think I just felt like I guess the transition into that question set seemed really abrupt.
Yeah, I guess so. And the names that we're talking about are that Silk is sometimes called Amber of Kotu, and sometimes he's Prince Keldar, and and he touches on Polgara and Aunt Pol and Belgariad, and Dernick gets all bent out of shape because Silk explains that, well, sometimes people who are less than honest have the need to wear different names. And Dernick gets all bent out of shape because, he doesn't like the idea of Mistress Pole being called anything less than honest.
Yeah. That was a cute moment for him.
Yeah, so he's so got a crush on her big time.
Right.
But then he puts it, then Silk sort of puts it, well, perhaps not dishonest, but have a need to hide or to keep secrets.
Because of what they're doing. It's for safety, It's not for the sake of being dishonest. It's because they need to keep themselves and Garion safe.
Yeah. And then the conversation then transitions into why they have to be secretive. And is this where Garion says...
Well, first they go by, they're passing the Belar temple.
Oh, the Temple of Belar. Yeah.
And this is where Barrett kind of explains that he's been behind on his religious duties and he doesn't want the high priest of the Belar to say anything and call him out in front of everybody, which I thought was strange. Like, I don't know this setup very well, this city, but I'm kind of like, why would the high priest just be hanging outside of the temple? And
well, I'm not sure, but this was another one of those things that irritated me on this reading. The line is a prudent. This is Barrack speaking, and after he was talking about being called out by the priest, he says, a prudent man doesn't give either a priest or a woman the opportunity to scold him in public. And it really made me prickle a little bit.
Yeah. He's very old-fashioned, I guess.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what time. Just blah. Don't like it. But there's but and then they keep going, and then the next thing that irritated me. Can you guess what that was?
Let me see. Let's see. I know they run into his old friends. One's a woman, one's a man. Is that right?
No. So they go past a couple of people in the street who are a couple of old dudes throwing snowballs at each other. And they talk about they have to stop because they're in the middle of the narrow street. And these two old fellas are chucking snowballs, and Barrack says, oh, it's okay, they're old friends. They'll do this for a while, then they'll go and get drunk and fall over. And Garion says, what do they do in the summer? Barrack's like, well, they throw rocks, the rest is the same.
Yeah. Like, ouch, that sounds painful.
I know. Every time I read that, I go, no, surely they go, no, that's too much bruising and blood. No.
So this is why I thought of the woman, because it's the lady in the window. She's like calling down to Barrack, and it seems suspicious. Like she's the way they put it up, it sounds like she's like a woman in a brothel or something.
Yeah, I'd say that she's a sex worker, and Barrack's like trying to ignore her, and it just irritated me. Like Barrack is not shown in a good light in this chapter, I've got to say. To me, he's not being shown in a good light. And considering that I love him because I know him very well, he's a brilliant character, but I do not like the way that he's being shown in this chapter. He sort of like pretends that he can't hear her and doesn't answer her when she calls down out of the window flirting at him. And Garion's like, oh, I think that woman's calling to you. I think she knows you. And Barrack's like, yes, she knows everybody.
Right. So it seems like he may have been, outside of his marriage and
But I mean, I guess this chapter does really set firmly the tone of sexual culture and gender culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, like this is very much how like Game of Thrones is set. I mean, it's even way further vulgar in Game of Thrones. Like, yeah,
this is very innocently done. Like there's very little vulgarity. Well, none. The only vulgarity you'll hear about this is coming out of my mouth when I swear a lot.
Yeah. So they move past that very quickly, and then they're.
Oh, they run into the bear cultists. What did you make of that?
I'm not too sure. It's so quick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's only a very little blip, but the bear cultists are like the fanatic religious group of the Cherrick. So where are they called?
It just says bear cultists.
Just says bear cultists. Cultists, they're religious fanatics. And so the story is that they are trying to reunite Alysia. And Alysia is all the Alorn kingdoms. So Alorn is is the same as Angarak. So you know how the Murgos and the bad guys are Angaraks, and they have a number of tribes that make up the Angaraks. The Alorns used to make up one entity called Alysia, which the gods broke up into the different peoples, the Cherricks, the Drassenians, the Sendars, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And Dernick makes a comment, that doesn't sound so bad that they want to reunite, the lands. And Barrack says, it was done for a reason. And this is where they go into the secret. It was done for a reason. A certain thing had to be protected. And for it to be protected, the lands Alysia had to be divided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then this is the moment, again, Garion just seems like, I'm tired of being bored in the background, so let me make this interesting. And chimes in with like, well, it's been stolen now, hasn't it? And this is where his dry voice is mentioned again. Mm-hmm. It seemed to inform him of this connection. Mm-hmm. And so Barrack can still kind of acknowledge that he's very clever and intuitive, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so Garion starts to question, like, so we're going to go to war? Like, that's what Wolf is making the decision, or Belgariad is making the decision of in these meetings. Or actually, it's Dernick who questions, is it going to be war?
Mm-hmm.
And Barrack says there's much worse things than war.
Yeah. It speaks to the power that Belgariad has, because they're hoping that Belgariad can persuade the Alorn kings not to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
And so this really really outlines the amount of power that Belgariad has, that he would hold that much sway over kings. So that's sort of the meaty bit, the political bit of the moving the story along. But they don't mention anything specifically. Garion says it's been stolen now, and it's just it, and there are no names of people or things mentioned. It's still very vague, isn't it?
Yeah, they just kind of touched on it again.
Yeah, but I think it's just the importance of the thing that's been stolen. The fact that the Belgariad and the kings, the Alorn kings, would tear the world apart stone by stone to have it returned. It's the most important thing in the world. So, and that would be why they might go to war, to get it back. So then they go down to the harbour, and so it's all icy and snowy, and they can see the masts of the great masts of the ships, where the ships are being built. So it's like all, you can imagine, huge, whale-size frames of hulls and wooden skeletons poking out of the snow, where they're building these new ships.
Yeah.
And
it seems like Dernick's having a special ship made for them and their purposes.
No, Barrack.
Not Dernick, Barrack, yeah.
Yeah, so the shipmaster comes out, and they're talking about Barrack's ship. It's sort of touched on there's going to be a really bloody big ship. You're going to have to, and Barrack's like, well, I'll just have big men to man the oars.
And then of course, this is where Garion gets bored, and so he decides to go off with those children.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't even call them children anymore, but...
No. So so young people. But, it makes sense. When you're around adults all the time, it's boring.
Yeah. But I loved this. I think this scene, and then the scene with Dernick and the whatever, she was like a whore. I don't know what they call them in this series.
Oh, she was just a servant. She was just a maid. One of the seven girls. Okay.
You see, I'm tainted by Game of Thrones.
You are totally tainted. Nasty potty mouth.
But yeah, these are my two favorite scenes, and I really liked Garion. When he interacts with this boy, this redheaded boy, who's like, he can already sense like this is leading to a fight. He's gonna eventually like punch me once he gets up the nerve to do so. Yeah. So let me just beat him to it, and he socks him in the face. Yeah.
So Garion goes over to these kids. They're all sliding down the hill on pieces of board, so on little sleds. So he's like, oh, that looks like fun. And he talks to one of the girls who slides down, and she's a bit pretty, and he notices her boobs, because she's as pretty as the
size as the boys.
Yeah, she's
clearly not a boy.
Exactly, clearly not a boy. Okay. And so Garion and her have like a little conversation, and she's like, well, I might let you use my sled. And Garion's like, well, what would you want to let me use it? And she said, well, I can think of something. I might let you use it for a kiss. And then the other boy comes in the middle of all this, and he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing here? Who gave you permission? And Gary's like, well, I didn't bother to ask permission. I was just talking to Maidie. Who said you could do that? And then, yeah, exactly right. You see the thought process in Garion's head is described. He's like, well, I can see this coming. Bob.
Right.
Punches him in the nose and puts him on his ass.
Yeah. And then the kid's reaction is great too, because he instantly becomes not so tough.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm bleeding. What am I supposed to do? What if it doesn't stop bleeding? And he's panicking, and Garion just keeps saying, just put snow on it. Why are you freaking out? Just
put snow on it. And then he does an Aunt Pole. Well, what if it keeps bleeding? Oh, I guess you'll bleed to death.
Mm-hmm. And so this is the moment where he's starting to walk away, right? And
yeah, he's walking back to the others, walking back to Dernick and the others.
And the girl stops him though, and this is when she kisses him.
Uh-huh.
And I forget exactly how he didn't seem like he wanted to do much else about it. He just kind of like,
I guess
walked away anyways.
Yeah, so I think he was disappointed about the way it had turned out with, the boy punching the boy, and it just didn't, it was supposed to be light and fun, and it just wasn't. And
right.
So Meiji kisses him and then runs off laughing, looking back over her shoulder, and Garion keeps going back to the others.
Mm-hmm.
And Silk's like, she wanted you to follow her. She wanted you to run after her. And he's like, why? And then they sort of tease him, like, oh, maybe someone should tell Mistress Pol that your education's lacking, and,
Yeah. They tease him a lot, laughing, and that's when he starts to get really upset.
Yeah.
Feeling hurt, and then sulking the whole way back to the castle. But on the way back, there's that one interesting moment where he senses like two people in the alley or in the walkway or wherever it is.
No. So he sees two people going into an inn.
An inn, okay. Is it the dry voice again or something?
No, he sees the man with the green cloak going into an inn. So he's been keeping an unconscious eye out for this man in the green cloak. And so he sees him going into an inn. And with him is a figure in a dark hood. And you can't see the face, but he knows who it is. Mm-hmm. He feels that connection and knows that it's Asherak the Murgo. He's just seen the figure too many times since he was a baby, and he recognizes him instantly. But do you have anything to say about it? Because I can keep talking, but I want to know what your perception of this was.
First thing is, so the man in the green cloak, that's the same man from the last chapter he saw in the corridors, the hallways. Yes. Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. I think I must have skimmed.
He's just referred to as the man in the green cloak, so that's sort of the common recognizable thing.
Yeah, but other than that, no. I mean, nothing really jumped out other than that. Okay, Garion obviously is, again, really sensing because he can see things that aren't really noticeable on the surface.
Okay. Well, the way that, so it's sort of written that Garion recognizes him instantly because there's been that connection all the way through. But again, he has this compulsion where he cannot talk about it. He really wants to talk about it. His mind is screaming at him to tell somebody, but he can't make his tongue work. And so he then goes on he questions Barak about, he says, how many Angaraks or how many Murgos are there in Cherrick, in Valalorn? And Barak tells him that there are no Murgos in the whole of Cherrick. It's the first law that their first king laid down against pain of death. Any Murgo in Cherrick is killed. Mm-hmm. And so Garion's like, doesn't say anything else, but so obviously
almost like something, like some inkling is telling him he shouldn't say anything for some reason.
Yeah. So that's the end of that. But it's very, very clear that he wants to say something. He sees that something's wrong, and he can't. There's something stopping him from doing that. Mm-hmm. And then they're at dinner that night. Did you want to talk about it?
Well,
hang on. How you doing? You hanging in there? Do you want me to just talk? Because I can talk.
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
I'm doing okay. Yeah. Well, I think this is pretty much the end. They're at dinner, and they're still making fun of him. They're joking about making a song about this experience Garion had because it's just too hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he's feeling like still really bothered by and annoyed by all of this. And it's Aunt Pol who kind of just tops it off with her little comments.
Yeah.
Of like,
so it's like Barak tells the story, and he's not mean. He's not unkind to Garion. He just tells a funny anecdote, very well told. He's a pretty good storyteller, old Barak, and it has everyone laughing. except for a couple of the queens who smile tolerantly, and Queen Porin laughs openly, it says. So that sort of speaks to her personality. But then Aunt Pol, she really pissed. I just want to smack her in this. Like, really, are you so much of a fucking prude that this story has got you so like, is she really this starched up?
Mm-hmm.
Bloody hell. Like, and Silk's like, well, it was just one blow and one kiss, and Aunt Pol's like, yes, and will it be a duel with swords and even greater foolishness afterwards next time?
Yeah.
Like, bloody hell, woman. You're supposed to be thousands of years old. Have you had no experience at all?
I know. She should understand a teenage boy by now.
Bloody hell. Anyway, so that's like just irritated. I'm getting irritated a lot in this chapter. And then right at the end, there's this like, Garion's like girding his loins to like just let her have it, and doesn't, like, he turns to look at her and she turns to look at him, and there's like this challenge in her, and it's written like her face is like, yes, what were you going to say about that? And he just lets it go, and that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah,
I think this is definitely going to be our longest episode yet.
Oh, how long have we been talking?
Over an hour.
Oh shit, I might edit out the boring bits.
Okay. What do you mean boring bits? There's no boring bits. Come on.
Well, when I'm editing it's so funny. When I'm editing the episodes, I cut out lots of ums and ahs and spaces between thoughts. I kind of shorten it all up. Let's go into the magic.
Yeah, the magic. I just chose the moment where Garion knew that the cloaked figure was Asherak.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I think he's becoming in tune with his little superpower, whatever that is. It might not be exactly magic, but it's like he's really connected to this voice in his head that just kind of tells him how it is.
Okay, well, my moment is sort of connected with yours. The magic that I like is the compulsion that he has not to speak about the fact that Asherak is there, and there is this really powerful connection between them, because he still hasn't told anybody. Nobody knows about this yet, just him. And I really like the way that he circumvents that spell by asking a slightly sideways question about Murgos being in Cherrick to Barrack. So there seems to be some sort of specific barrier to him talking about Asherak specifically.
Yeah.
And the connection that they share.
Yeah.
So that was my magical moment. Now,
awesome.
I really like your personal insight.
I think my best.
I'm happy for you to read that straight off the spreadsheet.
Yeah. I had a lot of trouble. I couldn't find anything that related to my life in this chapter.
Oh, that's so sad.
I'm blaming it on me being sick, so my mind is really foggy, and I just kind of like, I'm looking through the pages, I'm kind of like half there. I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, well, for the edification of our audience, I'm going to read it straight off of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
This is Alysia's note. I couldn't find anything that I related to in this chapter. Maybe it's the sickness. I blame the sickness. That made me laugh. So
it's true. It's very true.
Okay, so mine. As much as I was really irritated by several things in this chapter, just because of the way that I'm thinking about the world now, I just realized that we're mirrors for other people as much as they are mirrors for us. Using Barrack and Meryl's relationship as an example, and the way that the other men interpret her behaviour as shallow, but completely overlook the fact that Barrack's behaviour was completely shallow as well. You know, it's like I'm the center of my own universe, but so's everybody else. So, you know, none of us see anything the same way because we all have these different lenses and filters. And just for me at the moment, with this whirlwind that I'm kind of being, this drama that I'm being pulled back into with family, I have a different perspective than I ever had before, which of course we do every day because every day is different. We're a different person every day. But I'm really noticing this reflection back at me of things about myself.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's so hard to grasp and put words to, but that was my personal insight that I got out of the chapter this week.
It makes sense, though. It's true, you know, that you see. They always say that you're seeing what you see that you don't like in other people is what you also don't like in yourself, and it can help you bring a new awareness in some ways.
Totally true. It's totally true. The things that really irritate me in other people are the things I like least about myself, but I haven't been able to be honest about to myself. Like they're the fears and the behaviors and the things that I judge myself for that I see in other people and judge the hell out of them because I'm really judging myself, but haven't had the guts to.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy. It's not easy to just accept
It's really not.
So you're not the only one.
Okay, so I could see you about to fall off your chair in a dead faint. So let's do some prophecy.
I am feeling sleepy.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. So I had to choose one of the books that was calling to me to, you know, as all this stuff was coming up for me this week. And that book was, I have to read it because I just forgot the title. The Universe Has Your Back. And the author is Gabby Bernstein. She's like a, you know, what do you call her? Public figure type. But she's got this book. And I read it like maybe like 2 years ago. And it was like, at the time, like, yeah, that's cool, whatever, you know, and I just kind of put it away and didn't get much out of it. And something was calling me to read it again after what happened to me on Sunday. So I'm like, why don't I use this? And I'm just going to flip. It's on my Kindle. So I'm just going to like use the bar and like pick a random page. And then see, my intention is obviously about this clarity I've had and now the new direction I'm going in. You know, I already know that it's all, you know, right and what I'm supposed to be doing. But I just, you know, further along that clarity path, I guess. Let's see. Oh, okay. She's talking about when you're meditating, you can say Sat Nam. Okay. So she said the vibration of Sat reaches up to the ether, calling on your connection to the universe. Nam is a grounding vibration that acknowledges that you can bring the energy of the universe into your day-to-day experience of the world. Bring forth your truth in every corner of your life. Bring peace with you wherever you go.
There you go, babe. That's a fairly direct answer. And I just want to make a note. So guys, don't think that if the book you want to use for your prophecy, if it's not a physical book, if it's on your Kindle or on your electronic device, that is not an impediment. You can use it because Alysia just used hers. So what was the mechanics? You just plonked your finger along the bar at a random place?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. Exactly.
Technical magic.
I love it. I'm just trying to find out where I was at now so I can go back to the right chapter.
Oh, jinkies. I'm not going to tell you, Mob, what I'm scratching, but oh my God, it's fucking itchy. Oh, I'll stop now. Oh, no, I'm not stopping. Yes, I'm stopping. Okay. The book that I'm using is my trusty favorite, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. Myths and Stories of the Wild Woman Archetype. So please please, universe, will you please tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do about this particular situation with my loved one? Really, just can you just tell me? That would be so good. Okay. To untangle skeleton woman is to understand that conceptual error and to set it aright. To untangle skeleton woman is to understand that love does not mean all glimmering candles and increase. To untangle skeleton woman means that one finds heartening rather than fear in the darkness of regeneration. It means balm for old wounds. It means changing our ways of seeing and being to reflect the health rather than the dearth of soul.
I think I'm going to start crying right now for you. I mean, that again, just like mine was a direct answer for you.
Yeah. I'll edit all the silence out so that you're not bored, listeners, but I just have to sit with it just for a sec. Love does not mean that love does not mean all glimmering candles and increase. That's my new mantra for the rest of the week. Love does not mean all glimmering candles and increase. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Wow. Do you have a prediction? What was your prediction for last week? Let me just have a quick check.
I already checked it. It was that he was going to see the green cloaked figure, find out who he was, blah, blah, blah.
Garion will find out who this green cloaked man is, and Wolf may find out some surprising info in the private meeting that changes his plans. Well, we don't know that yet because we haven't been privy to the meetings. So you might be right.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But he didn't find out who the green cloaked man is, but he did see him again. So there we go.
Right. The next chapter I put that we'll find out what Wolf's decision is. A decision that is worse than war, according to Silk. I don't know. And dangerous situations will arise.
Okie dokie. We'll see. I did not pick a hashtag. We need a hashtag.
Yeah. I couldn't even wrap my brain around that this week. So.
Hashtag I couldn't even. Which actually is very appropriate and more than you know, and I'm not going to say why. But that is our secret hashtag, my darlings. I couldn't even.
Yep. Secret hashtag for a secret.
So thank you so much for being here all the way to the end. If you are still here, use the secret hashtag I couldn't even on one of our social media platforms and tell us your piece of prophecy or say hello or just, come on in and start a conversation with us. Tell us what you love about the book, what you love about the show. Ask us questions. They don't have to be about the show. They can be a little bit personal. We might even answer them. But you can find us on Instagram at Belgariad and Beyond and on Facebook at Belgariad and Beyond. On Twitter at Beyond Belgariad. I've actually started putting stuff there. So, maybe by the time this episode goes out, you'll actually have something to look at and you can tweet. But I'll put everything in the show notes so that you can click everything. But our website is belgariadandbeyond.goddesskindled.com and you can find all of the things about us and the show there. So go and explore your hearts out. And if you could rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, that would be fan-freaking-tastic.
Exactly. We want to spread the word. We want to get more people involved in this community. So reviews are the way that we can do that.
Absolutely. And, and the thing is, in your review, you can say why you like the show. So it really gives people a good idea about whether they might like the show too.
Yeah, and it gives us a good idea of what we're doing right and what maybe we can stop.
So true. If there's something that we do that really gets up your nose, you can either stop listening or you can tell us about it.
Yeah, and we may just consider your opinion.
You know, we're pretty good like that.
Yeah, we can take criticism.
Well, sometimes I can. I can't promise anything.
Okay, well, I'll take it for you. I'll be in charge of reading the reviews and not only feed you the good ones.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's us for this week. We will see you next week, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Okay. You need to go and steam your head or something.
Okay, yeah. I'm starting to feel it in my chest.